Hey guys, today we're going to talk about 4 causes of fatigue and how we can actually go about fixing these things. So if you do like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you really like it, please subscribe to my channel. So the 4 causes of fatigue we're going to cover today are the most common causes I find to be true in my clinical practice as a Chinese medicine practitioner. These same 4 causes, interestingly, are probably the least spoken about in terms of general conversation when people are talking about fatigue or other articles that I've read on fatigue. These 4 common causes are rarely spoken about, so I think this will be very valuable for you guys to actually get some more insights into what could be causing your fatigue and how we can actually go about dealing with them. So these 4 causes are inefficient blood flow through the heart, parasites, chronic stress, and obesity. So let's jump straight in and let's start with inefficient blood flow through the heart. So heart disease is extremely common in the Western world. It's actually the leading cause of death in the world. And however, most people kind of think heart disease, associate heart disease with old people. However, heart disease isn't something that happens overnight. It actually happens gradually throughout our entire life. However, it's usually diagnosed once it hits a serious stage. For example, with the cardiac treadmill stress test in Western medicine, they can pick up 70 to 80% blockages in the heart, but these tests actually struggle to find problems and blockages before that point. This means that 30, 40, 50% blockages can actually go undetected for a long period of time, which actually can create the fatigue in the first place, and they can go undetected. So actually a lot of people are walking around with preclinical heart disease, meaning there's an inefficient, sluggish blood flow through the heart, and it's actually affecting people's energy level. For example, if you can just imagine poor blood flow moving through the body, if there's not enough blood, oxygen, nutrient circulating through the body, then we're going to have problems. We're going to be tired. So this is the first underlying cause of heart fatigue that I commonly see in the practice. So what can we do about this? Well, the problem, like I said, is that these are diagnosed way too late in the stage of, those late stages of heart disease. But what we actually do in Chinese medicine, we use a tool called medical pulse diagnosis, which we can actually detect lower to medium stage sluggish blood flow through the heart, and we can actually prescribe strong blood moving herbs that actually help circulate blood through the heart properly and bring people's energy back. We also notice that when we actually do this, people start sleeping better and they get less anxious and they're no longer fatigued anymore. So yeah, let's move on to the next one, and that would be parasites. So parasites are very common as well. They're actually considered an epidemic in the world in terms of the amount of people that have these things. In fact, it's estimated that 500 million to 1 billion people have these parasites. I'm pretty sure this is more common because people are traveling overseas to exotic destinations, to underdeveloped countries, eating street food and eating all sorts of different things where we don't have full knowledge of where they came from. And these parasites are loaded in these underdeveloped countries where the food quality isn't as high. So the big problem with parasites is that they're not a huge, they don't demand huge attention from doctors in the Western world because we don't have a huge problem particularly here, but people going overseas and then coming back actually suffer from these parasite infections. So the main actually step you can take to deal with these parasitic infections are to have a stool test. They will actually detect most parasites, The little issue with this stool test is that they won't detect some parasites such as the Entamoeba histolytica, which actually lives in the attaches on the wall of the large intestine, meaning that sometimes it actually doesn't move out into the stool and sometimes it isn't picked up from the stool test. The other problem with the entamoebas are they also look like white blood cells or dead white blood cells, which can also mean they get undetected by an untrained eye, definitely in Western countries. So if you do want to check if you've got parasites, then I recommend getting a stool test. And if you can find a doctor that can do the swab of the large intestine so they can get some perhaps some insight in what's lingering around on the wall of the large intestine, that's probably not a bad idea either. So the main treatment strategy for this is definitely the strong anti-parasitic drugs. So in my experience, the Chinese medicine isn't quite strong enough to kill them. It can definitely knock them out and slow them down, but the anti-parasitic drugs are much better for these parasites. It will really kill them. Once you go through a protocol of those anti-parasitic drugs, usually it's about 10 days. At that point, then you can actually take the Chinese medicine, build your body back up again, because they do wreak havoc on the body and they do drain the body. So you will need to recover after those strong drugs. Alright, let's move on to number 3. So this is chronic stress. So this isn't your daily type of general stress. This is more of chronic stress or distress. This happens usually with traumatic events. Something's very traumatic or something that's just ongoing for a long period of time that just drains the adrenal gland. So the adrenal glands are responsible for spitting out stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol and epinephrine. And what these adrenal glands do in especially like traumatic experiences is they start to spit out all these stress hormones to a high level. But what happens is after that event has actually finished, sometimes these adrenal glands actually don't stop spitting out these stress hormones and this cortisol, adrenaline, and this epinephrine. So what happens is that even after the event is finished, some people can actually stay in a low-grade fight or flight response where they're constantly on edge, they constantly can't relax, and they're always waiting for something bad to happen. So what we have to do about this problem isn't mental, it's not a mental problem. It won't be fixed by meditation or psychology or things like this. But what we need to actually do here is actually to fix the adrenal gland issue. We have to strengthen the adrenal gland to tighten it up so it stops spitting out all these stress hormones. Because what happens is over time when you've had this chronic period of the stress and those adrenal glands have become weak and overworked, when they become overworked they actually start releasing more of the stress hormones, so we actually have to strengthen the adrenal gland to actually tighten it up and to stop all that release into the bloodstream. So that's what we need to do for this particular problem. Alright, let's move on to number 4. That's obesity or excess weight gain. So this is quite logical to think about. If you imagine the piping system in the body or the vascular system and all the little blood vessels that are circulating through our body, if you imagine those being squished by excess fat, which is literally what happens, you can imagine that less blood, oxygen, nutrient is actually circulating through the body's organs and the body's muscle tissues. So naturally, if we're not getting enough blood, oxygen, nutrient through our tissues, through our muscle tissue, we will actually lack energy and we feel tired and very sluggish and very heavy all the time. So you might know the first step to actually fix this problem, and that's to lose weight. However, in my experience, this is actually not the best first option because like I mentioned, these people are already very, very tired. They've got poor blood flow through their body and they're sluggish all the time. So what we have to do really is to make them feel better first. so they then can feel good about eating a different diet or exercising. But to expect people to actually do this while feeling run down and fatigued all the time is not really going to happen. So with this type of fatigue, people are going to crave the sugar to give that quick energy burst. But what I find is more successful, more beneficial, is that if we can make them feel a lot better, if we can push blood, oxygen, nutrient through the body stronger through Chinese medicine herbs, strong blood moving herbs, then we can actually make them feel good again, get some vitality back, and that at that point then they can follow the meal plan more closely, and they'll have more energy to exercise and things like this. So in my experience, that is definitely a better strategy than expecting someone to change their whole lifestyle when they're totally exhausted all the time. Alright, they're the main 4 causes I see in the clinic. And just to summarize those, so that's inefficient blood flow through the heart. Then we've got parasites, we have chronic stress, and we have obesity or being overweight. So these 4 things need to be dealt with, and I hope this information does help you, because I know some of these causes haven't been spoken about too much, but they are extremely common. And when you do resolve them, the fatigue will go away. Okay, so I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, again, please give me a thumbs up. If you really liked it, please subscribe to my channel. And yeah, hope it helps. My name is David Edwards, and thank you for listening to the channel today. Bye.